So I'm very, very happy to be here. I want to thank everyone for attending today's event to highlight the importance of passing my legislation, Senate Bill 25. And I've said it so many times over the last 8 years, it feels like Greek coming out of my mouth. But we're going to keep pushing that rope uphill. And of course, this legislation would provide full practice authority for certified registered nurse practitioners in Pennsylvania. Today, we are standing inside of South Point Psychiatry and Wellness in beautiful Washington County. I would like to thank Jennifer Bowman, Natalie Snyder, Colette Gibbons, and their staff, Anne and Maria, for hosting us today. A little round of applause for them. Thank you. Thank you. Fun little trivia point. The office right next door to where we're standing was my very, very first office when I was first elected in the Senate. Yeah, that was my South Point office. So I'm like, oh, 135 technology. Oh my gosh. And then second floor, I'm like, no. And I'm like, oh, wow. So anyway, coming home. Anyway, I always really, really love being with these wonderful nurse practitioners. But seriously, I am really tired of being with you under this circumstance. To constantly remind everyone that Pennsylvania continues to stay behind while state after state after state passes similar legislation. 27 states, Washington, D.C., and oh, by the way, every VA across this nation has adopted full practice authority for nurse practitioners, and it is far past time for us to join the list. I am privileged to represent a large number of rural communities throughout Washington, Greene, and Beaver counties, where access to quality health care is a serious concern. There simply are not enough doctors willing to practice in smaller communities, and those that still do often don't take new patients, and they really don't take Medicaid. So this is a crisis in healthcare that we have an answer to. Nurse practitioners play an integral role in our healthcare system, and they are the key to removing obstacles to patients by expanding access to both general health care and mental health care. September is recognized as National Suicide Prevention Month, and it's vitally important that we spotlight not only the critical work nurse practitioners are doing in the field of mental health, but the challenges and roadblocks they're facing to help those that are struggling. I could stand up here all day and tell you the countless stories that I have been told about the challenges they face, but we need to hear it from those with the boots on the ground. First, I would like to ask this incredible woman, Jennifer Bowman, who is the psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner and co-founder of this office, to give us her perspective. Jen?
Thank you. Good morning. And I'd like to again welcome you all to South Point Psychiatry and Wellness on behalf of myself and my colleagues and my staff. I began my nursing career over 28 years ago and have been practicing as a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner now for 10 years. I earned my bachelor's in 1996 from Penn State University, my master's in business in 2010. I thought I was going to take a different turn, and ultimately I earned my Doctor of Nursing Practice from Robert Morris in 2014. Short of 2 years ago, my colleagues and I decided that we wanted to open up our own psychiatric practice, but we knew it would be challenging, even with over 50 years of clinical experience between the three of us. We had the business and medical experience, along with a lot of support, to make this dream of ours a reality, but we knew that we would not even begin this process until we each secured 2 collaborative physicians to work with us. I'm sure most of you have heard now how nurse practitioners deliver great and safe and effective care, so today I thought I might tell you a different story. We officially opened our doors on December 4th of 2023 and have grown to almost 1,300 patients with 3 nurse practitioners. There are several things that need to happen before opening up a business, but in our case, we need to have that collaborative physician in place. So we began our search. We found that most of them were already at their max or were tied to an organization like AHN or UPMC, and that prevented them from working with a small group like us. Also, many of them recently retired, which made our situation even more difficult for us to find someone. After several months of searching and almost begging to a point, we finally were able to find a physician who would work with us, who I had known from a prior experience, and he finally signed the agreement. But it doesn't stop there. This needs to be in place before we can even begin the insurance credentialing, which in itself takes several months. And this also delays us even getting started and being able to see patients. So that's another story for itself. It didn't take long for us to realize that we were going to have to meet the growing need, that we were going to have to expand and hire a fourth nurse practitioner. But we dreaded the obstacle of securing another collaborative physician. In March, we decided it was time to start working on hiring a fourth nurse practitioner, and we were hoping to have our current collaborator work with this new hire. To our dismay, we came to find that it was not possible because he was already at the max of the nurse practitioners that he was working with, and we were not aware of that. So, therefore, we had to begin a completely different search for a new collaborator, and with the limited psychiatrists in retirement, it was really, really difficult. It really was. It may sound like an easy task for us, but when the pool is low and not everybody is willing to take this role, and also a lot of the psychiatrists aren't even familiar with what is entailed, which we found with some of the younger psychiatrists that we had spoken with. So it took us almost 6 months to secure another collaborative physician for the nurse practitioner, 𝗦𝗲 𝗏𝗏, who we just hired, who will be starting shortly. So we found a physician. So on this journey, so when we started 6 months ago, we had found a physician that we loved. We thought she had our goals, everything was in line, but the problem was after several meetings with her, back and forth, she found that her liability carrier was going to raise her rate by thousands of dollars. So we would have to pay her a fee, and we couldn't even afford to really pay what it would have made to make it worth her while. So that fell through in June. So then we started another search that left us feeling defeated again. This physician, who is well known in the area, she wanted almost $1,300 a month to collaborate with a nurse practitioner who was going to see about 35 patients a week. We're a small business. We just, at this point in time, we couldn't really afford to do that and cover the cost. So we already know that we have this nurse practitioner hiring, so we need to get a collaborator. What are we going to do? So we resorted to some online agencies such as Collaborative Docs and Zivian, who charge between $700 and $900 a month just to collaborate. And that's only one physician. You need to have a backup, and that's extra if you didn't have a backup, which we were lucky that we actually did have that person on the agreement. So we were left with no choice but to use an agency, and we have been paying this agency since August, mind you, and 𝗦𝗲 has not started seeing patients yet. So now that we have this going, we have to get the credentialing, the insurance credentialing and process, that's in place. So we have still not been able to get 𝗦𝗲 started yet because of the delay with the collaborator and the several months, and you can't get anybody. There's nobody from provider relations for any of these insurance companies. There is no Highmark rep anymore. Cigna, I think you're talking to somebody in India. So that's a whole nother part of this, is getting the physician and then waiting for this. So now, to run South Point Psychiatry and Wellness, it's going to cost us about $25,000 a year in collaboration fees, which is another person or staff person to help Maria or Ann with all the things that we need to do day to day. For me personally, this has been very difficult. We really need to hire this nurse practitioner now, especially since I was diagnosed with breast cancer on July of 26. I have already missed a lot of work due to testing and chemotherapy, and have had to cut my hours significantly due to my health condition, and have had to turn several patients away from the practice already. I am concerned for my well-being and the financial commitment it takes to run this growing practice. And I'm also concerned mostly that my patients are going to be taken care of. And I'm also concerned that what if my current collaborator says, I'm going to retire, Jen, and he wants to cut dyes, and then we're left finding somebody again, which is another cost to the practice. The delays caused by our struggles to get a collaborator pushed our new hire back by over a month, now actually probably longer, and we are still waiting for her insurance credentialing to come through. Pennsylvania has the opportunity to address this crisis by loosening these restrictions that prevents nurse practitioners from practicing to the full extent of our training and skills. Getting through this red tape has honestly been exhausting for me and all of us here, and has only delayed mental health care to all of those in need. We are not discounting in any way the training of physicians. We are asking for the ability to practice fully for what we are trained to do. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for all of that. That's great information, and really to highlight the struggle that all of our nurse practitioners are going through today. There are so many barriers. It's not just, oh, find a physician and sign. I know of a nurse practitioner who, again, to your point, her collaborative agreement with the physician retired. She struggled for months and months and months and months to find another physician. That physician lives 6 hours away. How is that guaranteeing a better outcome? It's not. It's just, here's your check, sign the paper, and let me do my thing. So thank you so much for really highlighting that. And again, my legislation would put the strictest requirements of any state in the country, 3 years and 3,600 hours under a collaborative agreement, actually in Pennsylvania too. Sorry, audible eye roll. And now it would just allow them to do what they do the best. We suffered through 2 years of the COVID lockdown. Our kids suffered, I think, the most. We had people locked in with their abusers for almost 2 years. Child abuse, spousal abuse, the whole addiction, the crisis is real. And we have people ready, willing, and able, an army of them, talented, educated, experienced, ready to go. It's time to unchain these folks and let them do what they do best. So next, I would like to bring up 𝗡𝘁𝗶cie hy𝗹𝗹, co-founder of Peace of Mind Psychiatry, based out of Bridgeville, and she is a university professor of nursing at Robert Morris University, where she serves as a coordinator of the Psychiatric Mental Health Nurse Practitioner Program. Kirsten.
Thank you, Senator. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for coming. It's so wonderful to see such a nice turnout. I'm 𝗡𝘁𝗶cie hy𝗹𝗹, and I have had the honor and pleasure of working as a professor and psychiatric nurse practitioner since 2000. So it's 24 years. One of the most rewarding aspects of my career has been the ability to maintain long-term relationships with my patients, some of which I have been treating for 2 decades. I worked in outpatient psychiatrist-owned private practices for the majority of my career, in addition to maintaining my full-time faculty position. 3 years ago, my daughter Brayden, who also is a psychiatric nurse practitioner and program coordinator at the University of Pittsburgh, decided to open up our own outpatient private practice called Peace of Mind Psychiatry, located in Bridgeville. In 3 short years, we have onboarded 5 additional psychiatric nurse practitioners and provide care to approximately 3,000 patients. For many years, similar to what Jen Bowman had shared, I was very fearful to take on this endeavor due to the need to have a collaborative agreement with not only 1, but 2 physicians. What if one of the physicians decided they no longer wanted to serve as the collaborator? What if one of them got ill? What if one of them retired? What would happen to the patients who were under my care, needing treatment for a variety of mental health conditions, including major depression, bipolar disorder, anxiety, substance use, and suicidality? One of the major factors that influenced my decision to move forward and take this leap of faith with my daughter was that she married an internal medicine physician. And I thought, well, geez, if something happens, he could at least serve as an interim provider for us or collaborator for us until we would find a psychiatrist to fill that role. That's pretty sad. So collaborative agreements are a huge expense, as Jen Bowman had pointed out, to nurse practitioner practices and barriers to patients being able to secure both physical and mental health care. Collaborative agreements truly have nothing to do with collaboration. As a psychiatric nurse practitioner, I collaborate regularly with local psychiatrists, primary care physicians, nutritionists, guidance counselors, therapists. My collaborating physician lives in Florida. So the collaborative agreement, we are collaborating. We want the best outcomes for our patients. Another highlight of my career has been the opportunity to share my knowledge and clinical expertise in my role as a psychiatric nurse practitioner professor and program coordinator at Robert Morris. This is my 20th year at Robert Morris, and I have educated hundreds of students in their pursuit of becoming doctorally prepared nurse practitioners. Nurse practitioners are first prepared as registered nurses and gain valuable experience clinically and working in an interprofessional team before they return to school for graduate level education. Furthermore, nurse practitioners are electing to do residencies where they get additional experience and collaboration before they are practicing. Multiple studies have demonstrated that patient outcomes are equivalent of care provided by nurse practitioners compared to care provided by physicians and physician assistants. As the senator indicated, 27 states have passed legislation related to full practice authority, and data suggests that access to care has been expanded in these states without compromising patient outcomes or patient safety. Pennsylvania is becoming an island as it relates to prescriptive authority or full practice authority, as most neighboring states, including Maryland, New York, Delaware, have provided nurse practitioners with this opportunity. Pennsylvania has yet to follow through with enacting full practice authority, even though there are 2 ranked NP programs that are in the top 10 in our nation in the state of Pennsylvania. Those opposed to full practice authority are not concerned with access and quality of care provided to the members of our Commonwealth. The concern is power, control, and money, as we're talking about thousands of dollars for people, online organizations, providers living in Florida and serving as a collaborator. There is no denying that lack of access to mental health care negatively impacts the nation's health and financial stability. 1 in 4 families has at least one member with a mental disorder. Even more alarming, as the senator also pointed out, are the needs of our children and adolescents, particularly in this post-COVID-19 era. 1 in 5 youth are diagnosed with, 1 in 5 youth are thought to have a diagnosable mental disorder, but only a quarter of those are receiving the needed treatment. Untreated mental disorders compromise developmental achievement and place youth at risk for suicide, violence, school failure, teenage pregnancy, and the development of substance use disorders. And we all know that the opiate crisis is real in our nation. September is Suicide Awareness Month, and according to the CDC, suicide is the 2nd leading cause of death in individuals between the ages of 10 and 34. 1/3 of adolescents interviewed had said they seriously considered suicide as a way to end emotional pain. It is estimated that there is a suicide in our country every 11 minutes. We know the United States is facing a severe shortage of psychiatric providers and psychiatrists. Mental health service gaps are found across the state of Pennsylvania. Rural, urban, and suburban areas all struggle with providing a sufficient psychiatric workforce to meet this need. According to the American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry, approximately 1.7 million Pennsylvania citizens are affected by the psychiatric shortage, and only 40% of that psychiatric need is being addressed by our current available workforce. Pennsylvania must do more to enhance access to both primary and psychiatric care and align with over half the states in the nation who have passed full practice authority. Given the above staggering statistics on suicide in our nation, voting to pass Senate Bill 25 and grant nurse practitioners full practice authority is truly a matter of life and death. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kristen. Truth be told, full disclosure, my mom attempted suicide a couple of times when I was a very, very young kid because she had been brutally raped on a trip and just couldn't seem to get the right kind of care that she needed. So I understand what that kind of mental health crisis does, not just to the individual, but the whole family. So we also have to think of the children that are involved when we have people in mental health crises, and we need to focus on how best to serve all of those people. I also want to mention very quickly that now in Pennsylvania, we have telemedicine. We never had that before. We have the ability to reach into people's homes, into their most private spaces, to give them the care they desperately need. So those people who may have difficulty traveling or can't afford to travel, can't afford childcare, or are too embarrassed and have a stigma about getting treatment, there's a way to service those people too. So let's unleash this wonderful group of individuals who can provide that kind of care for so many different individuals who need it. Our next speaker, lastly, I am very, very glad that my friend and president of the local National Alliance on Mental Illness, and I've heard it pronounced NAMI, NAMI, okay. NAMI affiliate could join us today. 𝗡𝗂 𝗏𝗏, pronounce your last name again for me. I did it? Yeah. Boom. Okay. Would like to say a few words as we continue to recognize September as National Suicide Prevention Month. All right, Lisa, thank you.
Hi, everybody. I always fear going first, but fear going last more. But what I'm here to talk to everybody today about is Senate Bill 25 and how Senate Bill 25 can impact many of the people that I am friends with, that I work with in the communities that I live. Senate Bill 25 directly would help. When I was 21 years old, I guess it would be the easiest way. I ended up in Washington Hospital and was there for 2.5 months. Now that's unheard of, usually a week at the most. They won't pay to help you or to stay in a hospital. It's just too expensive. They were getting ready to commit me to Torrance State Hospital, or Mayview, because it was still open at that point, because my doctor, Dr. Patel, who became one of my biggest mentors in my life, could not figure out what was wrong with me. It turned out I have bipolar disorder with psychiatric or psychotic features. I come from a culture that put things in the closet, you didn't talk about them. So the triggering event that brought this to happen to me was not something anybody was willing to talk to me about. How that made it worse was I internalized it and I got sicker. And I ended up meeting Dr. Patel. Dr. Patel said, "Lisa, you are so smart. Why can't you understand that this is just one thing that happened to you, that it is just a part of your life? It is not you. You're a daughter, you're a sister, you're a friend, a swimmer. There are so many things you are. This one little thing, this little diagnosis that you're stuck on is not who you are." And that became the springboard that got me to eventually go to Washington Hospital Nursing School, where I received my RN in nursing and continued to have help in the community from an individual, Lynn Lorish, who worked for the Mental Health Association, being in charge in Washington County. She said, "Lisa, why don't you keep taking that boards?" I took the boards twice and I couldn't seem to pass, and I didn't know why. I have an issue that some people would say is, even though I have the education in the background to do what I do, I still feel as an imposter I still feel like I'm just making it up, that it's fake, because I was told by society that if you have bipolar disorder with psychotic features, that you are worthless, that you should get disability and be satisfied with a life, that you just sit there and do nothing but watch TV or go to the store or have to have other people take care of you. I was not satisfied with that. I was not taught that that's what I should do. So I continued to struggle to get through. And Lynn, she said, Lisa, try again, try again. I'll tell you what, if it's so scary for you to work as a nurse, why don't I tell you this? You pass your boards and I will hire you as a nurse. And I did. She hired me in my first nursing job at the LTSR in Bentleyville, where I worked 2.5 years as a nurse in their locked unit that they have, where individuals with the same diagnosis of myself were struggling to understand how they could better their lives. A lot of the individuals that I met there were there because they couldn't get the help they needed when they needed it. This bill would completely change all that. People like myself, like my friends, like the people that live in my communities and surrounding areas, would be able to access people that when it starts, when those problems start to happen, they can catch them before they have to fall to the ground, before they have to pick themselves up and struggle for years to get somewhere. I can't say when a week ago I found out about this bill, I was just like, wow, how did I not know about this? This bill should be told to everybody. You should tell all your friends. You should get everybody to get online and listen to this. This is a game changer for everybody, not just people of wealth, but people that need help, that don't have the money, that can get a mentor, find a mentor, like I did with Dr. Patel. Dr. Patel eventually begged me. If you've ever seen a psychiatrist beg somebody, it's very odd. But he begged me to work for the ACT team in Washington County. He said, Lisa, you're what we need on this team. I said, how could that even be possible? I don't understand. That imposter syndrome was hitting me hard. And I got on the team and I was like, okay, I can do this. I can definitely pack meds. I can definitely meet with people. I took people to the wellness center. I thought this was such a wonderful thing. I don't know if you know much about the ACT team, but when I worked for the team, we had 100 individuals that we worked with. And they were red flagged because they didn't adhere to treatment. So we had to go out in the community and see them. One of the biggest positives for me was I could relate to their situations. I could see with them, hey, I understand what you're meaning by this, about how you feel, about how uncomfortable you are, and how when you start to feel not well and you reach out, there's nobody there. Coming back to Senate Bill 25, these individuals that I worked with could have definitely used an individual who was a certified nurse practitioner that could assist our team. I have had multiple jobs, which is not uncommon for an individual who struggles with mental health issues. But what I have learned is with the right supports around you, the supports that this bill could offer, that you can achieve great things. You can go further in your life. You don't have to sit back and be stigmatized and listen to what other people say your life should be. You get to choose. This is all about having the choice to be able to make the life what you want it to be. Fast facts that NAMI talks about. The prevalence of serious thoughts of suicide, 4.8% of all adults have thoughts, serious thoughts. We're not talking like thoughts that just come in, oh, I'm gonna, we're talking about serious thoughts. 22% of high school students have this issue. 22%, that's a lot of people. 41% of lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer youth, 41% of people have serious thoughts of suicide. How this will impact that community, I can't even fathom how much positiveness will come from the passing of this bill. There's a lot that I could say about myself, but this really isn't about me. This is about all those people who are sitting at home right now saying, I just need to talk. And this will give them the ability to be able to talk to somebody sooner. I thank you for...
Thank you so very, very much, Lisa. And for all three of our presenters with all that wonderful information and personal stories and anecdotes, can we just give them another round of applause, please? So we all understand, I mean, we're preaching to the choir in this room. I get it. I get it. But you can facilitate measures to help implement this. Contact your legislators, send emails, make phone calls. Go on their website, send them, direct messages, smoke signals, whatever, anything that works. We know that this is vital. And at one time, when we were first working on this bill, there were 18,000 certified nurse practitioners in Pennsylvania ready, willing, able, and ready to go. But you know what? We have far fewer today than that. Because as Kirsten had said, we are surrounded. Pennsylvania is becoming an island. We have all these other states right next door to us that are standing with open arms for certified nurse practitioners. Come on over. Water's fine. You can work here. We need to utilize these brilliant, hardworking, compassionate people to do what they do best, and that is to give us excellent health care here in Pennsylvania. Urban, rural, poor, rich, Medicaid use, anything. Telehealth, all of those things. We have a buffet ready before us. We just need to step up to the table. And I am so grateful for everyone in this room, for all of you who are still sticking with us in Pennsylvania, even though it ain't easy, I know. But thank you for what you do for your community, for your patients, for all of our families to make life better and easier for them. I'm incredibly grateful. I'm incredibly blessed. And maybe together we can have our voices. I always say Horton hears a who. Anybody know that story? Of course. All together we can be a voice and bust through the dust speck and get that voice heard and finally pass Senate Bill 25. Thank you all so very much. And thank you for everyone that facilitated us having this wonderful event here today. Thank you. Thanks very much.